The person you marry is one of the most consequential financial decisions you will ever make. And almost nobody treats it that way. Not your college major. Not the city you move to. Not even the career you choose. The single biggest variable in your long-term wealth equation is the person sleeping next to you. And yet most people spend more time researching their next car purchase than they do thinking through the financial reality of who they're building a life with. Here's a number that should stop you cold. Married couples between the ages of 24 and 35 hold a net worth up to 9 times higher than their single counterparts. Not 9% more, 9 times. That's not a rounding error. That's the Federal Reserve telling you, in plain numbers, that who you partner with and how you partner with them financially is the difference between building real wealth and treading water for decades. So let's talk about what the research actually shows. The math behind the marriage wealth premium, the brutal cost of choosing wrong, and what financial alignment actually looks like in a relationship that's designed to build something. The wealth gap between married and single Americans has been growing for years, but what most people don't realize is how dramatically it accelerated recently. Back in 2010, the net worth difference between a married household and a single household sat at around $25,000. By 2019, that gap had more than doubled to over $60,000. And that's using median figures, which means it's not being skewed by a handful of billionaire couples inflating the average. The typical married household is pulling away from the typical single household at an accelerating rate. Why? Because marriage, at its core, is a financial merger. 2 people sharing one rent or mortgage payment instead of 2. 2 incomes directed toward the same savings goals. 2 sets of benefits, 2 employer matches, 2 Social Security earning histories working together. Married couples are twice as likely to own a home compared to single adults, and home equity is still the primary wealth-building vehicle for most American households. When you stack all of that up, the compounding effect over 20 or 30 years is staggering. But here's where it gets interesting, and where a lot of people make a critical mistake. Just living with someone doesn't get you there. The data on cohabiting couples is surprisingly sobering. The median net worth for cohabiting couples aged 25 to 34 was $17,372, compared to $68,210 for married couples in the same age range. Single adults clocked in at $7,341. So yes, moving in together helps a little, but the real wealth acceleration happens when 2 people are genuinely committed, legally, emotionally, and financially, to a shared future. Now flip the coin, because the same relationship that can multiply your wealth can absolutely obliterate it. The average divorce in the United States costs $11,300. That's the national average with attorneys involved and a median of $7,000 for simpler cases. But the moment things get contested, custody, property, retirement accounts, that number blows past $15,000 to $20,000 fast. And in high-income divorces in major cities like New York or Los Angeles, 6-figure legal bills are not unusual. And that's just the attorneys. That doesn't count the asset split, the cost of setting up 2 separate households, the lifestyle duplication of now paying 2 rents, 2 utility bills, 2 sets of furniture, 2 of everything you used to share. The real financial cost of divorce isn't the legal bill. It's the reset. You're not just losing money, you're losing years of compounding. You're restarting wealth accumulation from a fraction of where you were. Studies on wealth and divorce confirm that the financial setback from dissolving a marriage can take a decade or more to recover from, depending on age and income level. So what causes it? What sends financially capable couples over the edge? Money. More specifically, different relationships with money. According to research from certified divorce financial analysts across North America, financial incompatibility ranks as one of the top 3 causes of divorce, right alongside basic incompatibility and infidelity. Studies show financial disagreements predict divorce more reliably than arguments about household tasks, parenting styles, or even time spent together. Think about that. Of all the things couples fight about, chores, schedules, in-laws, the money argument is the one most strongly linked to the marriage actually ending. And the debt dimension alone is alarming. A CNBC survey found that 54% of people believe a partner with significant debt is sufficient grounds to reconsider the relationship entirely. 41% of couples who carry consumer debt say they argue about money, and it's the thing they argue about most. Compare that to debt-free couples, where only 25% report frequent money arguments. The financial pressure in a relationship isn't just abstract stress. It shows up as real conflict, real resentment, and eventually real dissolution. Here's the part that catches people off guard. You think your partner's financial problems are their financial problems. They're not. When you marry someone, your credit scores stay technically separate. Your credit report doesn't merge with theirs on your wedding day. But the moment you apply for anything together, their score becomes yours. Want to buy a house? The lender looks at both scores and often qualifies you based on the lower of the two. A partner with a 580 credit score can push you from a 3.5% mortgage rate into the 6% range, or get your application denied outright. On a $400,000 home, that rate difference alone costs you tens of thousands of dollars over the life of the loan. Their financial negligence just became your financial penalty. And in 9 states, Arizona, California, Idaho, Louisiana, Nevada, New Mexico, Texas, Washington, and Wisconsin, community property laws mean that debt taken on during the marriage is legally shared debt. It doesn't matter whose name is on the account. If your spouse runs up $40,000 in credit card debt while you're married, in a community property state, that's your $40,000 too. But the legal exposure is only half the problem. The other half is behavioral. Lifestyle inflation is quiet, insidious, and it will wreck you faster than almost any single financial decision. When one partner has a high spending mentality, dining out constantly, upgrading cars every 3 years, taking on debt to fund vacations, the other partner faces a choice. Either fight about it constantly, which destroys the relationship, or go along with it, which destroys the balance sheet. Neither outcome is good. Here's the math on why this matters so much. If a financially misaligned partner causes your household to spend an extra $500 per month that could otherwise be invested, just $500, at an average annual return of 7%, you lose over $200,000 in wealth over 20 years. That's not $500 a month in luxury spending. That's one impulsive lease, one habit of eating out instead of cooking, one partner who refuses to track spending. The opportunity cost of financial misalignment compounds against you just as powerfully as smart investing compounds for you. So what does the data say financial alignment actually looks like? First, couples who have frank financial conversations before marriage report dramatically better outcomes. A Northwestern Mutual study found that 72% of Americans believe money conversations should happen well before marriage or moving in together. And among married couples who entered their marriage with a formal financial plan, 94% reported satisfaction in the relationship, compared to 89% of those who didn't. That 5-point gap sounds small, but at scale, across the full arc of a marriage, it's the difference between a partnership that works and one that slowly, quietly erodes. Second, joint finances outperform separate finances in relationship satisfaction. Couples who maintain joint savings accounts report 94% marital satisfaction. Those who keep only separate accounts report 82%. The act of financially merging, of literally putting money into the same pot with a shared purpose, seems to reinforce the commitment and the coordination that wealth building requires. Third, financial compatibility isn't about having the same income or the same credit score going in. It's about having the same values around money. Do you both see debt as a tool or a trap? Does the idea of delaying gratification feel natural to both of you, or does one of you struggle every time there's something shiny to buy? Are you both willing to look at your bank statements, your credit reports, and your retirement balances together without defensiveness or shame? Because here's the real conversation most couples never have before they get serious. They talk about where to live, how many kids to have, how to handle holidays with the in-laws. But they never sit down and say, what does our financial life actually look like? What do you owe right now? What are you saving? What's your credit score? What does financial security mean to you? Those conversations feel awkward. They feel transactional. They feel unromantic, and avoiding them feels like protecting the relationship. But research from the Journal of Financial Therapy shows that couples who communicate openly about money, regularly, not just when there's a crisis, have higher marital satisfaction and lower financial stress across the board. The awkward conversation you avoid today is the divorce deposition you might be sitting through in 10 years. Before you commit to someone, the financial checklist matters as much as the emotional one. You need to know their credit score and their full debt picture. Student loans, credit cards, car loans, personal loans, all of it. You need to know their financial history, not just the numbers, but the story behind the numbers. Did they get into debt because of a medical emergency? Or because they can't say no to themselves? Those are very different things. You need to know their long-term financial goals and whether they're actually planning for retirement or spending every dollar as it arrives. And you need to agree on a framework: joint accounts, separate accounts, a hybrid system, who manages what thresholds require a conversation before spending. None of that is controlling. All of it is necessary. Because the married couple in their 40s who started at zero together and built to $500,000 or $800,000 in net worth, they weren't just lucky. They made intentional choices. They bought a house instead of renting indefinitely. They maxed their 401ks, or at least contributed consistently. They resisted the lifestyle inflation that ate their peers' savings alive. And they did all of it in the same direction, because they both wanted the same things. The couple who is still fighting at the kitchen table about who spent what, whose credit card has a balance, and whether they can actually afford the vacation. They aren't just having a bad night. They are living in a relationship where financial misalignment is quietly taxing everything: their stress levels, their options, their future. The wealthiest thing you can do in your financial life isn't picking the right stocks. It isn't timing the market. It isn't optimizing your tax strategy, though that matters. It's choosing a partner who builds alongside you instead of pulling against you, and then doing the hard, ongoing work of keeping your financial lives genuinely aligned, not assumed aligned, actually aligned. So here's what I want you to think about. If you ran the numbers on your relationship right now, the shared goals, the spending habits, the debt, the savings rate, would the math tell a story of two people building toward the same destination? Or would it show two people moving in different directions and calling it a partnership? Drop your answer in the comments. I'm genuinely curious. Have you had the real money conversation with your partner, or is that still on the list of things you've been putting off? If this hit somewhere real, hit the like button and share it with someone who's either about to get serious with someone new or who needs to have a conversation they've been avoiding. And make sure you're subscribed. Next week, we're getting into something that most couples are getting completely wrong about: joint accounts, and the data on it will genuinely surprise you.